Hi, my name is Dave Johanson, and I'm the co-owner of Blossom Hill Crafts. We're going to start doing a monthly series, little challenge projects for our students. This month, it's called Thrown, Altered, and Assembled. And the projects that I'm making look a little bit like this, or perhaps this round one that you see in the background back here. You can use the exact same techniques I'm going to show to make all kinds of shapes and forms. What I really want to do here is challenge you, and there are a number of different challenges in this project. I have 3 pounds of clay here on the potter's wheel, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this little itty-bitty flute cylinder off the mound. So that's going to be the very first thing that I do here. So I'm going to begin by just kind of bringing up a little bit of clay. And when I throw off the mound, I like to do what I call making the doorknob. So I've just kind of got like a little doorknob here on the top of my clay. Then I'm going to drop a hole using a single finger. And I'm measuring my depth with my knuckles. So I'm going like what I call a knuckle and a half deep. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open that up just a slight amount. And then I'm going to pull a cylinder here, just like you would any other time. Now the clay that I'm using is our studio mix, our floor mix. So sometimes there's a little bit of stuff in it that can cause some trouble. But this is just like throwing any other cylinder. And I'm just going to throw a little bit of a fluted form here. Keep my rim real nice. And that's really all there is to it. Now I have to get it off of the mound. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my stick tool, and I've got my hand on the inside, and I'm just going to score it right where I want to cut it. Just like that. I don't need a bottom on this flute, so I don't have to worry about, leaving enough clay at the bottom. In fact, I don't want a bottom on it. I'm going to take my wire and just put it in that little groove that I made, and pull it as levelly as I possibly can. As levelly as level. Levelly isn't a word, isn't it? It's like lovely, but levelly.
Lovely level.
So I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to, I don't want to pick it straight up. I want to tip it away from me and set it down. And there we go. I've got a small little cylinder there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the top off and just call it junk. Because sometimes when you try to push that back into your clay, it just creates a bad situation. So now I'm going to take the rest of this clay and center it up. And I'm going to center it quite low. Okay? And I've got it centered low. I'm actually going to bring it out even a little bit further. And what I'm going to do here is throw a hollow, shallow cylinder. By hollow, I mean there'll be no bottom on it. So I've kind of just pulled it out nice and flat. When I'm trying to pull it out, I use this knuckle right here. I kind of put it right in the middle and just kind of pull out like that. And you can see that I've got kind of a nice flat circle centered disc here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a hole in the middle and go all the way down to the bat. Right? All the way down to the bat. So there's going to be no floor in this pot. And I'm going to just open this up. And as I'm opening it up, I'm keeping the rim compressed. Okay? And I'm just going to open it up. Just like so. Alright? So, I think I'm going to pop this off of here for a second so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Right? It's a cylinder with no bottom. Alright? So now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to raise the walls of this cylinder. So we're just going to come in here and raise the walls. Now I don't want to get the rim too thin. I need some thickness because the edges of these forms are made from plates, and I'm going to have to connect things. So don't get the rim too thin. So there we go. I've now got myself a cylinder, and I'm going to put just a little bit of an inward curve on it. Clean up the bat, and I want to make sure that the outside of my rim here is about the same as the outside on the bottom. And so I actually need to push the bottom out just a little bit so that I've got basically, oh, don't have my tool held level there. Actually, I'm perfect. This is pretty much square. You could use a wear board or anything that's square to just kind of determine that you're basically straight up and down. So this now is going to be the main form. All right, so I'm going to wire this off, and then I'm going to change the shape of it. So I'm going to take my stick tool and just put a little groove right down there at the bottom, so I know that I can get my wire in there real well. Take my wire, drop my wire all the way to the bat, and I'm going to pull through. Now, if you look at this form that I've made over here, it's not round. Okay? This right here is the cylinder that I've just thrown. This part right here is the cylinder that I've just thrown. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of, because there's no bottom, I can start to change the shape. And I want it to be kind of an oblong oval. And sometimes putting a little water on the bat and running the wire through again gives me a little bit more of an ability to do that. But what you can see here is that I have created an oblong to oval. Okay? We're going to let that set up and get leather hard. And actually, if you keep throwing now, in about an hour, the clay's going to set up even more, and you'll be able to get the exact shape that you're looking for. So now you can see how I make the main body of this particular form. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the sides of the form. And those are just plates. So far we've thrown something off the mound. We've made a hollow form and altered its shape. And now we're going to make a plate. So I'm going to take a little clay here and get it nice and centered up. My favorite part is just slamming the clay down. And we're going to just get this plate all nice and centered. All right. And again, I've centered it very low. So when I'm making a plate now, and this is just good practice, I'm going to just put a little bit of a compression in the middle. Okay? Just a little bit of a hole. I'm going to take and I'm going to make a fist. I'm going to drop my fist down into that hole, and I'm going to push down and pull towards myself. I want to make sure that this edge stays down to the bat. All right? One of the things that I forgot to do here, so we're going to go back and do it, is I need to know how big to make this plate. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come back to this form I was just throwing. I'm going to take a caliper and I'm going to measure the widest distance here. I don't want my piece to fall off the bat, but right there. I'm going to just, that widest distance, I need it to be at least that wide. So that's the size of the plate that I'm throwing. And this is an inside-outside caliper. So this is measuring the outside, this is measuring the inside. I can use either side of the caliper, this side or this side. I'm going to go like this and see, well, I got to get that disc a little bigger. A little more water on there. All right. And I should be pretty close now. I'm a little bit over, which is perfect. This does not have to be precise. So once I've got this disc thrown out like this, I'm going to do what's called restanding the clay. What that means is I'm going to take the edge and push it in. And as I do that, I'm going to form a short cylinder. So I've got one finger on the edge of the clay right here, and what I'm trying to do is keep this edge lightly compressed. And I'm going to push the clay in. I'm just pushing towards the center of the clay, keeping that rim compressed. So again, if I pick this up, you could look at it. That's what I've got. I've got a kind of a short cylinder, a short wide cylinder. So I'm going to put this back down, and I'm going to pull the edges up. So I'm going to make myself that little groove on the bottom, and I'm just going to bring that edge up, and I am not going to let the rim get too thin. We'll come back to my calipers and look and see, okay, I need it to go out at least that far. So now I'm going to bring that out just like that. I'm just bringing the edge out, and I'm going to come back and compress it in so I have kind of a nice arc. And if we check, I'm plenty wide. Okay? So I need to be a little wider than that. And I'm now going to just clean up all of my hand marks in there and get that nice and clean using my metal rib. And if you notice this pot here, it's got that little spiral shape in it. I don't know if you could see it in the camera, but that's okay. It's got a little spiral shape in it. And I'm going to go back to the wheel here. The way I'm going to do that spiral, I don't want that spiral right in the center. I want the spiral off center. So there's a kind of a neat little trick you could use to do that. You can tell my bat pins aren't fixed because I don't use them a lot. I usually throw right on the wheel head. I'm going to take my bat and I'm going to move it off center. So my bat is no longer centered, and because the bat pins are on there, I put a little piece of clay just to keep my thing stable. And now when I spin my wheel, my plate here is off center. I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to put it on there, and I'm going to slowly move to the middle. And what happens there is I now have a spiral on my plate that is off center. Kind of a neat little trick, and it's going to add to the end product here. I'm going to put my plate back down, and I am going to take my stick tool and whenever I make a plate, I always take my stick tool and make a nice little groove down there. It just makes it easier to wire the plate straight off the bat. And there we go. So you'll need two of these plates, the hollow cylinder, and this little piece right here. So that's it for the throwing. Now we're going to talk about how we put this whole thing together. It's pretty simple. Got to get rid of my bat pin here. This is a piece that I threw before. So as you can see, this, very similar to that. Okay? So on this side, I've already taken a plate and I've affixed it. Okay? I'm hoping you can see that good on the camera. So on this side, I've got to get my cylinder ready to accept the plate. So what I did was I just took a trimming tool and I just went around and I hand just trimmed sort of a nice little bevel in there that the plate is going to fit right into. If you don't own a serrated rib, this is a really good tool to get. We sell them here at the studio. They're cheap. And I just going to take a serrated rib and come around, and this is going to do two things. It's going to level out the work and make the work that you did with the trimming tool look neater. And it's functioning as scoring. So it's really serving double duty. So What I would do now is I would set my plate on top and then score the plate so I knew what shape to cut the plate. But in the interest of time, I have already taken a plate. I got a little wet clay on it. I've already taken the plate and cut it to the proper shape. Okay. So I need to take the back of this plate and just take my scoring tool and go around the plate and score it. Okay. You want to take your time and do that well. And I'm just going to use the slip from my throwing. It's a good idea to start saving some slip. If you've got a nice little container with a lid on it, after you're done throwing, you could just take some of that clay out of your throwing water and save some slip, or you could take some clay and make it. But what I'm going to do is just paint that slip all the way around. And then I'm going to paint it all the way around. And you want to, you don't want to make a mess, but you don't want to skimp either, right? So you just want a nice thorough covering of the slip. And the slip that I use is pretty, you could tell I'm using pretty thin slip. I don't have anything thick or goopy on here. In my opinion, that just creates a big old mess. But always slip and score or your stuff won't stay together. Very, very, very important. So the other thing I did was, you can't really see it, but I took a needle tool and I poked a hole right there in the center of my spiral. And I did that because I poked a hole on the other side right in the center of the spiral. I kind of want them to match. And when I'm setting this down, I can line those holes up. And I'm basically going to get them to match on both sides. So I'm just going to put this down on there and firmly go around the edges and press. Okay, I'm just going around and firmly pressing. Then we're going to come back to this serrated rib. And again, I just love this tool. I'm just going to come around and I'm going to just begin making this nice and round. I'm working with clay that's maybe a little softer than is ideal here, but it's going to work out. So we're just going to go around just like that. Some of this right here is a little bit much. I'm going to just take it off with my trimming tool. So I'm going to just keep going around like that until this looks nice and neat. After I've got that perfect, and this is far from perfect, I'm just not going to spend the time on this video to get it really nice. I'm going to come back with a regular rib. And that's going to smooth that out until you have kind of a nice shape going all the way around. I'm going to move over here for a second. If you look at this piece, I have it sitting off balance. All right? And you want it to sit off balance if you do this one. This one is perfectly round. So you don't have to alter these. You can do a perfectly round one. Either way, it needs to be able to sit and not roll. So what I did was I picked the angle that I wanted it to be at. Okay? And I set it down actually on the floor, and I just kind of ran it like that on the floor. And what that did was it scored the bottom of the pot to tell me where I want to flatten it. And then I came back with my serrated rib, and I just began to flatten it. Maybe coming back with a flat rib like this, and a serrated rib like that, until I got a nice flat surface so that this will sit on it, just like that. Right? So now I've got my, my basic form together here. Right? So the next thing is we've got this piece right here. And I've got one here that I made earlier that's a little stiffer. Okay? And what I've done is I just set this on here and kept cutting it to a contour until it fit. Which way did I have it on here now? Till it fit the way that I wanted it to. And I haven't cut a hole in this yet for this form. I've just got my piece on there. That's not it. There we go. Until it all looks nice and level. And I can't see it completely at the angle I'm looking at it, but I think that's probably pretty good and where I wanted it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to score the bottom after I've cut this shape so it fits the pot. Right? I've cut this so it fits on there. I'm going to score the bottom. I'm going to set it on there and maybe take a needle tool and mark exactly where I want it very quickly. Once I've marked it where I want it, I'm going to score. And then we're going to slip both sides. So I'm going to take and slip here. And I'm going to take and slip here. And I'm going to now take a second and I'm just going to push them together. So I'm hoping I got that pretty good. Yeah, it looks all right. I'm just going to take and push them together, and I'm pushing firm. Okay? If you need to, you can take a little piece of coil of clay and put it in there to get it look neat. And now I'm just going to take a needle tool or a knife, and I'm going to cut the circle out of the center so that it's hollow. All right? I just need to cut the circle out of the center, and that way it's actually a vase or a bottle. Or whatever you want. And I'm not going to take the time to do that neatly, but I just cut that centerpiece right out of there. So that's it. That's how you go about making a thrown, altered, and assembled vase. I challenge you all to make these, and like you to take pictures of them, and we'd like to get the pictures up on, put them on Facebook and stuff like that so we can share them with each other and see what people are making, and just have a lot of fun with this, okay? Thank you very much. Bye now.